Hi, this is Juliet, and I hope you're doing well. Today, I'm coming to you with the real case about hypnogastric banding. So a real client who came to me in the last few months. And so it was a story that is very touching to me, that also affected me a lot. I thought about it a lot. So I thought it could be also interesting for you to hear about it, because it was kind of exceptional, kind of special. So this woman came to me. She's about 50 years old. She has 2 little boys, and she came, of course, for weight loss. She wanted to lose about 10 kilos, so nothing crazy. She's in good shape, but she has those little few kilos on top that she wants to get rid of. So she has done a lot of other stuff like crash dieting, Weight Watchers. So she knows actually what she's talking about. And she has been doing it for many months. So she's not someone whom I need to teach how to eat healthily, in balance and etc. It's not necessary, because she really knows how to proportion her sizes, what to eat, what not to eat, or let's say preferably not eat. So I didn't have to do much education for her. But when she came, her biggest problem were uncontrollable sugar cravings. So sugar cravings that were coming through at whatever moment during the day. It could be in the afternoon, it could be in the morning, it could be at night. When she woke up, she would just get up and eat whatever she found that was sugary, that would satisfy her sugar cravings. So that was really the general problem for her, because in general, she would eat pretty healthily, and then she would break everything down by eating those crappy foods. So when she came, she didn't have hypnosis before. She hadn't done it before. So I explained it to her that hypnosis is not like me getting into her brain and, messing with her mind or something, but that she's super conscious and she's always in control. So it's not me who can take over and make her do stuff that she doesn't want to. That doesn't happen. And so I explained it to her, how we're going to go about it, that there will be an induction, and then we will be going back and looking at the root causes of where those crazy cravings came from, because that is the first step in the hypnogastric banding. As long as the cravings are still there, there's no point in doing whatsoever else, because you cannot just limit and restrict the stomach while those cravings are still present. So that's what we did. We were digging very deep into where those cravings came from. And what unraveled itself was a very sad story. It was amazing, shocking, but also a very sad story. Because first of all, during her childhood, her mother had been starving her for the other children. She was the eldest. She is the eldest. And so instead of giving her enough food to be satisfied, to be, just like the limit of necessity, she would starve her. She would give her less and give more to the smaller children. At the same time, it started when she was 6 years old. She got raped by her dad, over her stepdad, over and over and over again. And that kept going on until she was an adolescent, so 14, 15, or 16 even, until she could really stand up for herself and say no. So that was something, she was abused for many years. And on top of that, she had those deep feelings of shame, of course, because she didn't understand why it was happening to her. The guilt, was it my fault? And this feeling of not being enough. What am I doing wrong? What is wrong with me that all this is happening to me? She just didn't understand. It didn't make any sense to her. She was too small to get it. And her family environment was so toxic, so she could not get out of it, of course. She was obliged to kind of find ways to cope with it, and she did. She survived in that very terrible environment until she was 17, where she left the house. She left the house. That's amazing. And it was also really, really sad, because the mother knew about it. She spoke to her, and she didn't heed her. She didn't listen to her. The mother just said, I have lived through way worse than you did, so shut up and just, go along with it. So it's like a betrayal on all sides. Her mother, who didn't listen to her, who didn't save her, who didn't take the responsibility of, defending this daughter, And on top of it, her stepfather who abused her. And for her, it was very hard because the other children were not abused because they were his own children. She was the only stepchild. And so for her, it didn't make any sense. So there was all those shame, guilt feelings, and there was also a lot of anger. A lot of anger. It's like a volcano ready to explode at any moment. So it kind of shifted between anxiety and anger. And what she told me was also that the slightest bit of injustice, if something happened at work or with her kids, she would just explode like, you know, like a pressure cooker. And she didn't know where it came from. For her, it was like, this was just a silly small thing. Why did I have to explode? Why did I have to react in such an extreme way? But she did, and she couldn't really trace it back. So she had been to therapy, of course, because she knew that what happened to her was not normal, but she still, and had the feeling that she was over it, that, you know, I dealt with this, it's not easy, but I dealt with this, I'm moving on. And a real fighter, right? A real strong woman fighting on, going on, taking care of her family and protecting her kids and doing, you know, all the right things. And so when we started digging into that story, because what we do in the beginning is really go for the root causes of where those cravings came from. And when those scenes started creeping up and coming up over and over and over again, she was totally incredulous. She couldn't believe that these feelings of not being enough, of unworthiness, this starvation from her mother, the abuse and everything, were the root cause for her cravings. So, but finally she did make the connection, because the sugar was the only comfort in those times of terrible distress for her. The sugar was her friend, it was her comfort, it was her go-to security, you can say. And she learned that from very early on, because the sugar, of course, it was very rare. And now she's in a very good financial situation and she lives well. So as soon as there is this little trigger going off, she goes and runs to the sugar immediately. And that's not conscious. That is completely an anchored behavior in her subconscious, of course. And so consciously, she could not understand why she did that. But she, you know, she understood it, that it was her soothing mechanism. And she went along because she trusted me. And so we started to unravel all those stories and to untangle everything. And, you know, when I listen to her sometimes talking about those stories during the hypnosis, it was heartbreaking. It was so tough for me to hear her describe that, to see the scenes with her. I was, you know, I'm the guide holding her hand, you can say, through those scenes, and we moved through it, that's true. But it was, you know, sometimes I had tears in my eyes because it was just so unbearable what she was talking about as a child, right? But we went through it and we worked through it step by step, and she went along, you know, because she wanted to lose this weight, and if this was the way to go, then she followed me along. And so after, I think about 5 sessions or something, she told me the most beautiful thing that she could have said. Like, she has found an inner peace, that Zen feeling that she has never known before. That was really touching for me. And her anxiety is gone. And all those situations that triggered her so strongly before, where she would explode, like, you know, on the drop of a hat, she would explode for nothing. It just doesn't happen anymore. And she's now so calm. And I remember her talking about it, that she loves listening to the audios because that's part of the process, that I give her personalized audios. And there is one that she loved. It was like this golden angel wrapping the wings around her, protecting her and, you know, taking care of her, something that she never had. So that was really touching for me. That was super touching for me, so emotional. And yeah, by the way, the weight, once you had that stuff all done and behind her, Now she has lost about 8 or 9 kilos, and the cravings are gone. So if she wants to eat a piece of sugar, she wants to eat anything sugary, she can do that, but there is no more need for it. So she still eats ice cream from time to time. The last time she told me she started eating an ice cream and stopped after 1/3 because she just didn't want it anymore. She threw it away. So that's what we want to go for. That's the aim, because it's this effortless feeling of being able to eat healthily in a balanced way and not deprive yourself, right? It's not to say I'm not allowed to eat this, I'm not allowed to eat that. Because if you go for that, the first thing that will be on your mind is like, I want just that and nothing else. And so, yeah, it was wonderful to see the development with her. But it was also a very, very difficult case for me, because the process is still the same, but what we found while digging into those roots was horrible. It was terrible. And I think I've never felt it so strongly as I did with her, because I could feel that child inside of her that was so hurt, that was feeling so abandoned and so left alone. And yeah, I think that was the point, really. Like, of course, it's a grown-up woman sitting there in front of me, but you could feel that little child really crying. It was really heartbreaking at times, but I'm really glad that she moved on and that she was determined to get through it, and she wanted to go through it. And you know, the weight loss is just like a little symptom on the side now, because now she eats healthily, she does her sport, she does her exercise, and has no more cravings. And so the weight is just, you know, dropping off all on its own. Yeah, I really wanted to share the story with you because it was very close to my heart, and maybe you recognized parts of it for yourself, maybe you didn't. But anyways, thank you for listening, and talk to you soon.